I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
Macabre, it's time for the only news that matters on Black Sabbath Sunday. And former Dio guitarist Craig Goldy reflects on Vivian Campbell's firing from Dio, claiming that his predecessor was very disrespectful to the late metal icon and their former boss. As part of the original Dio lineup, which also included Vinny Appice on drums and Jimmy Bain on bass, Vivian Campbell was a key ingredient for the music, immortalizing in classics such as Ronnie James Dio's solo debut, Holy Diver, and having previously played on its Belfast-based Sweet Savage. Campbell noted several times that Dio was an important mentor figure early in his career. At the same time, the guitarist openly admitted that things grew progressively less peachy in the band as time went by. Craig Goldy, who originally took Vivian's place in 1987's Dream Evil and later became a permanent member of Dio in 2000, told Shane Bennett on Totem Paul Radio in a recent interview, he said, Ronnie picked Vivian, Vinny, and Jimmy for his band for a reason. Not just because Jimmy was in Rainbow with him and Vinny was in Black Sabbath with him, but there was a reason why they were in Rainbow and Sabbath. And Vivian was ferocious, man. I remember reading a comment the other day is that people felt like maybe Holy Diver set the bar too high. Because even Last in Line, and I love Last in Line and Sacred Heart, but by Sacred Heart, the songs weren't that great because Ronnie knew that the guys weren't really giving it their all. And unfortunately, I was there. I was at Ronnie's house at the time. I know when it went down. And at the time, there was talk about them being an equal share band by the third album. But they took it literally like, oh, the day on the third album, we're going to be an equal share band. Ronnie said around the third album, and he explained to me one time, he even said, even though Jimmy and Vinny are kind of stars already because of Rainbow and Black Sabbath, they're kind of there already. Once everybody becomes as famous as I am, that's when you should be an equal share. It should happen around the third album because those guys are so good. And on every record deal, you have a solo album option. And so if you pick up your solo album option, that tells the guys, the main guy, whoever it is, you know, that you're now his equal because the record company has picked up your solo album option. That's all they had to do. And they didn't because they knew they couldn't. And it all came down to this. Money. Even though both Jimmy Bain and Vinny Appice publicly supported Vivian Campbell's version of the story in the past, Goldy claims Campbell was the person who started the confrontation. He said, there was no united front. It was Vivian. Vinny said they all felt the same way, but Viv did. But where was the united stand? Where was the united front? Why didn't all these guys go together? Why wasn't it four guys confronting Ronnie? Why was it just Vivian? Why was it just right on like Vivian set the alarm clock and the alarm clock went off and he said, okay, now it's time to confront Ronnie. He was very disrespectful to Ronnie on many occasions. Many times, me and Ronnie would be at the bar together where I was still in Rough Cut, and he was perplexed because he didn't know what to do about Vivian because Vivian was being so disrespectful to him because he had such a sense of entitlement. He didn't earn it. They went from opening act to headliners very quick, and Vivian didn't earn it like Jimmy and Vinny and Ronnie did. And he had a sense of entitlement. He was a good guy. He really was. A lot of the fans would tell you that he was a really good guy. And he was. He was a nice guy. He was a gentleman. Most of the time, he was a gentleman to me. All right, let me just, I'll continue reading, but I got to say, the part where he said, you know, these people earned it. Jimmy and Vinny earned it, but Vivian didn't. Who recorded Holy Diver? Who came up with that guitar, those guitar parts? Those amazing guitar parts. I got to tell you, man, it's right up there with Ronnie. I put Vivian. Vivian and Ronnie are so scary at their talent that, man, it shows all over that fucking album. And of course you got Jimmy and Vinny, but man, Vivian smokes. Jeez, go listen to the solo in Gypsy and then tell me he didn't earn it. Jeez. All right, let's continue reading. Claiming Campbell had a sense of entitlement in the period, Goldy argued that the altercation between Dio and his bandmates weren't the influence of the late singer's ex-wife and manager, Wendy. He said, but anyways, that's the problem. Vivian had a sense of entitlement and was so very disrespectful to Ronnie from time to time. And I saw it once in a while too. And it hurt my heart. A lot of times being at a bar with him, being so perplexed by that, a lot of people think it was Wendy's influence. It wasn't Wendy's influence. I've seen Ronnie go after Wendy like a ravaged wolf. That had nothing to do with it. It was respect. And Ronnie was tired of being disrespected. The guitarist also said that Ronnie James Dio took a pay cut during the Sacred Heart tour due to production costs while the other band members got a raise. He added, I bet you $1 million if those guys were all equal share members, that would never have happened because the money would have been more important. I guarantee you. Not only that, because I heard each and every one of them say it. They would have rather gotten the money than an 18-foot fire-breathing dragon. But Ronnie did it for the fans, and he didn't hike up the ticket prices. But that is still being talked about to this day. I highly doubt that Vinny Appice's bank account is going to be talked about as much as a 18-foot fire-breathing dragon. All right, I don't know. I can understand Goldy protecting, his friend Ronnie and stuff. But man, look, I agree with him, but I also disagree with him in some parts. Yes, I remember Vivian running around, making fun of the Dio stuff, saying he wasn't proud of it. And I remember once on MTV, he was being interviewed with Def Leppard, and he's like, yeah, I'm no longer doing this stuff, and he does the devil horns, and he sticks out his tongue like, like making fun of it. It's like, dude, the reason you're in Def Leppard is because you got a name in Dio. You got hired by Whitesnake soon after. You've had a couple solo albums, River Dogs, and the one you did with Lou Gramm. All this stuff is because of Ronnie James Dio. All right? Not Sweet Savage. Okay? So, yeah, it was extremely disrespectful. I agree on that part. I do agree on that part. And, as far as him saying, why was it only Vinny going up to Ronnie wanting his money? What does it matter? Ronnie promised on the third album we're all going to be equal. And then the third album came and Vivian went to him. The other two didn't. Okay, whatever. I guess they were comfy how they were, you know? But Vivian wasn't. And he was kind of pissed, you know? He's like, hey, you promised me. And then he kind of said that Ronnie was afraid of Wendy and this and that. All right, all that is kind of a bummer. I can understand where Vivian's coming from there. You know, it's like, hey, you promised something, you either get it or you get pissed. And, you know, he got pissed, and by getting pissed, Dio did a huge mistake, and that was firing Vivian Campbell. Vivian Campbell, extremely important to the Dio band, and it shows, you know, but at the same time, what happened? What the hell happened on Sacred Heart? I mean, you came out of the gate with Holy Diver. Last in Line, a lot of people think Last in Line is their best album. I don't, but I think it's their second best. I think it's an awesome album. I just prefer Holy Diver, but they're both two stellar fucking albums. What the hell happened on Sacred Heart, man? You know, it kind of sounds like they were just coasting. Like, you know, what Ronnie said to Goldy in this interview. Ronnie said, hey, man, you know, these guys are slacking. You know, and it shows. It shows on Sacred Heart. I think it's a piss poor album. Yeah, some like it, but man, some people like Generation Swine and what have you. You know, there's something for everybody. But for the most part, man, come on. If you're a Dio fan, Sacred Heart had to be a disappointment. I remember when I first heard it, I was very disappointed. I remember also that it was a friend of mine that had it. And I heard it. And let me tell you, if my friend played me that album and I would have liked it, I would have ran out and bought it. I didn't buy that Sacred Heart for the longest time. Then I got it, I think, on CD first, you know, because I'm a completist. But anyway, okay. So then, and I'm sure Craig Goldy has seen this, but doesn't talk about this. That footage, there's footage of Ronnie James Dio signing autographs, and somebody brings up Vivian Campbell. And Ronnie said, I hope he dies. You know, that's fucked up. I don't care what Vivian said about the music, this and that. Once you wish death on somebody, game's over. I'm sorry, game is over, man. And I can attest to this because this just recently happened to me. You know, there was a guy I was friends with, and then he got a little lippy with me, and I got pissed at him, and then he apologized, then he got lippy again. This went back and forth 3 times. Then the third time I was like, enough. I don't want to be your friend no more. You know, he even called me, apologized. I was like, no, enough. Enough. You talk so much shit about me, and now you want to be my friend. You're like a backstabber, dude. Fuck you. I want nothing to do with you. What does he do? He wishes me death. Oh, by the way, not just death. A slow death. All right? I mean, you just have to bring up death, and that's it. I wish death on Ralph. All right, I'm done with you. I wish you a slow death. God damn, dude. Seriously, what the fuck? So, yeah, Ronnie, man. Ronnie went overboard wishing Vivian death. All right? So that's something that Vivian could be as disrespectful as you want, but he wasn't that disrespectful. Come on. I love the man. I got to meet Ronnie James Dio twice, all right? He couldn't have been nicer to me and everybody there. And anybody that's a fan that met Ronnie James Dio will tell you the same thing. He was the nicest guy to me. Out of every musician band I ever met, Ronnie was the greatest. Because he loved his fans, man. But, you know, he didn't love his bandmates, I heard, you know. And something about Craig Goldy, and I saw this with my own eyes. I don't know what the hell happened. But on the Master of the Moon tour, I was all the way up front. All the way up front. Because I knew he was going to play Gates of Babylon and Stargazer that night. And I'd never seen him play either one of the two. So I was all the way up front. I mean, against nobody in front of me, right? And something happened between Ronnie and Goldy that pissed Ronnie off. I don't know what it is. But I was right there in between songs when the lights dimmed on stage. Ronnie would go up to fucking Craig yelling at him. And I couldn't make out what he was saying. But he was pissed. And then the lights went on and he composed himself, did the next song. And a couple songs later, he goes again to Greg Goldy, yelling the fuck out of him. You know, I don't know what the fuck he was saying, but Craig Goldy pissed him off that night. And he let it out on stage in front of people, even though, you know, the lights were dim. But, you know, Ronnie had a temper. Ronnie was pissed and he didn't treat everybody like his fans, but he loved his fans, so. And I loved him, man. And we all have a temper. Nobody's fucking perfect, you know? Even Ronnie saying, I wish death on him. Hey, man, we're not perfect. But, yeah, you crossed the line there. In my opinion, once you wish death on somebody, it's it. That's it. You win. You win at being the douchiest guy in the argument. That's how I feel. How do you feel? Leave it in the comments below. I would appreciate that. And thank you so much for watching The Only News That Matters on Black Sabbath Sunday. And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Ring that little notification bell. I totally would appreciate that. Oh, and like the video. That was bad acting, right? Oh, and like the video. That sucked. Anyway, you like the video because it's good for the YouTube algorithms. So stay frosty. Listen to Black Sabbath and smack 'em a cob.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.